Welcome to Planting Joy Garden. It is November now. I'm expecting a deeper frost tonight, and so I am watering by hand using watering containers because I've turned off my water spigot because we're having regular, almost nightly temps down in the 30s. So I don't want to risk having a plumbing issue. So what I do when I know I'm getting a harder frost, close to freezing, is I come out, I water my plants really, really well to help them with frost, and that's very important. Plants, particularly leafy green vegetables, if they are well hydrated, they will use the water and the sugar in their leaves as an antifreeze. So it's important to have them extremely well hydrated. So what I've done is I have done a real deep watering while the sun is still here to allow the plants enough time to move sugar and to move water through their stems to get them through the nighttime frost. The other thing I like to do, particularly at this time of year, I'm in zone 5B, 6A, is I harvest what I can just in case it is a surprise deep freeze that will take my plants out. And at this point, you see that I have a lot of my plants under netting. We have sirens going off, possible weather conditions. But I have them under netting, so I will move from simple netting and add frost cover over the netting. So what we're going to do is we're going to harvest some of these big leaves of the Swiss chard. I'm going to harvest some of this kale out. The collard greens, I want them bigger, so they're just going to have to wait. And I can definitely harvest out quite a bit of this mustard. So I do have my watering pails that I use, and it takes a long time to water using watering pails, but it's just too risky to hook up a hose, have that hose freeze when I know it's going to be a cold night. I have my collection container, so just kind of follow along as I do this harvest before tonight's deeper frost, lower temperatures. So we'll definitely be down in the 30s tonight. We'll start with the kale. And I know I'm rushing along, but we are losing daylight here. And I want to get my plants protected and get things harvested before the night hits me. At this time of year, I have critter problems at night, so the possums are busy. I do have nighttime rabbits. The thing I'm most worried about is skunks. Now, the skunks don't come in looking for my vegetables. They're just out and about. So I want to harvest what I can. Now, at this point, I don't need any leafy green vegetables for this week's grocery because I have plenty. So I will be blanching and freezing these. Okay. So that's good for the kale. So here's the kale harvest. And now for the mustard greens. And I just harvested these. I'm actually harvesting mustards almost weekly because they grow really, really rapidly, particularly at this time of the year. And I also saw frogs in here last time, so I will be careful. I do not want to harm a frog in the process of harvesting mustards. And again, with the mustards, I have some in the house ready for cooking. So these will be blanched and then frozen for later. And my personal goal for my garden this year was to grow my herbs and my leafy green vegetables. And I think I've done that. And see how large that is? Mm. Uh-oh. Yes. These are some really nice sized leaves. And I'm just going to leave enough leaves for photosynthesis. But I'm harvesting what I can just in case the frost is at the point where it will take my plants out. Okay. So here is my mustard. Now let's get some of these younger Swiss chard. Now the Swiss chard has been harvested quite a bit because it's my favorite leafy green. But we'll take a few more from here. Okay, and now for some Swiss chard. Ooh, I lose my glasses. Again, I'm taking out the larger. Now I won't be covering this bed at all. It is what it is. But I am harvesting out some of these bigger outer leaves. And it's always okay to harvest before frost. You are just guaranteeing that you're getting some food that you can put away for later, just in case you lose your plants. So I'm going to harvest as much as I can. Oh. I'm also checking for any sick leaves or anything that's not healthy. I will pull off. Okay, and this looks very different. But here is my Swiss chard added to the kale, and you can see there's been a significant difference in the size of the plants. They have been brought down to size. Okay, and now for some Swiss chard. Now this planter is definitely going to need a little frost cover because it's been harvested so much that it doesn't have a lot of mature leaves on it. A lot of the leaves are younger. So I'm just going to take what I can from here, and it's definitely going to go under frost cover. All right. I know I'm out of camera view, but it is getting dark and I just want to get this done. I will not be pulling off any collard greens. I want them a little bigger. I have harvested some collard greens. I was eating them as smaller greens, but we're going to let those just get a little bit bigger. All right. And the reason I'm taking the larger leaves off, because once I put them under the frost cover, anything that's touching the frost cover can be chilled and get a little frost. So some of the taller things I'm getting off. So just a few Swiss chards, not a lot. So I have been able to harvest out some things. The plants have been trimmed back so that I have my harvest of leafy green vegetables, and the remaining will be able to grow on. I will be protecting it from frost tonight so that I can continue to get a harvest, but it's always a great idea to harvest immediately prior to a deep freeze so that you can harvest something. So I'm going to put everything under frost cover and I'll be right back. And this is the harvest. Okay, the sun is going down, and as you can see, I've put some cover over my mustards. They really don't need it, but you never know. We can make predictions about the weather, but you just can never know. Got my frost cover here on my green stalk after I've covered my Swiss chard. The kale is going to have to fend for itself, and I have no doubt that it will. As I mentioned, my garden goal was to grow my leafy green vegetables. So here we are into November, zone 5B, 6A, and I've managed to grow and provide my own leafy green vegetables until this point. So I consider this garden year a successful year. And I have my lettuce, my herbs in my mini greenhouse. They're all battened up for the night. I am waiting on my strawberries to go into dormancy. Maybe tonight's chill will let them know, hey, time for dormancy. So I will be doing a video about the strawberries and how I will put them to bed for the winter and thin them out so that they're not so dense for next spring. So that's all I have for you today. Just preparing for a very cold night and making sure that I get a harvest before tonight's freeze. Have an amazing day. But God demonstrated his own love towards us in that while we were sinners, Christ died for us.